Hi everyone, so as expected we got the PTR update this night. It happened while I was live on stream and we got to try out and read the patch notes right away. So that was a quite curious experience, and there has been some changes to the Gold DH, but I'm gonna go over those in another video tomorrow. But overall Gold DH is in a decent shape, I'd say. But Rathma and Firebirds, wow. So Rathma has been completely annihilated. So the rat killer Rathma is dead. So it has been, I don't know, just completely butchered. There is no hope left. Both the Bone Spirit with Guardian Killer and also the Army of the Dead setup is basically broken now. So they removed the multipliers, they reduced multipliers, they made it harder to reset the Army of the Dead, they killed the Rathma shield. I mean, that was kind of like the most expected change, I guess. So anyway, it's just not gonna happen anymore. So before it was kind of even, you know, with Bone Spear, in case they just change Rathma's shield and don't touch anything, and then they decided to nerf it by another 20 tiers. So this is roughly what happened to Rathma. This is basically like Dragoul's or Pestilence tier now. So we'll see exactly, but I don't believe that people really gonna push much beyond like 130 or so with this, even on the high end, but we'll see. So for Firebirds, it is quite curious, and it got actually buffed heavily. So first of all, they upped the 2-piece bonus, it's like a ×2.5. Then they upped the combustion stacks, which is another ×2 because of the interaction with the 6-piece bonus, where your damage is multiplied by the amount of combustion stacks. Overall, they made it easier to stack the combustion and keep it stacked. So that is definitely picking up some of the feedback that I have also given, like making it a bit more like fluid to play. So I would have liked to see some kind of like delay before combustion drops, but it drops very slowly. So gain it at a rate of 50 per second. So it takes 2 seconds to get to maximum, and you lose it at a rate of 2 per second. So it actually takes 50 seconds to go back to 0. So that is amazing. Also, you get the damage reduction now while you have any combustion stacks and not while you have an ignited enemy nearby. So you always have 80% damage reduction, which is amazing. One significant change they made is also that it only allows non-channeling spells to proc this ignite damage when you hit them. And they also enabled Hydras to work, which funny enough is only the base Hydra with no rune, because the other 2 fire runes actually don't work for this. So the intended goal here was to remove the channeling playstyle, essentially just using Disintegrate to apply the debuff and get out the stacks and then kind of do other things. But well, because of Hydra, you can do kind of automatic damage, especially with Explosive Blast combined. You can do both those skills while casting Disintegrate, and you guessed it, there's gonna be Deathwish in there. So this is exactly what's happening right now on the Firebirds leaderboards. It's gonna be Deathwish, it's gonna be channeling, and you basically set up your stuff and then you burn enemies down with Explosive Blast and Hydra while you keep the Deathwish buff up. The funny part is that I believe that Firebirds was actually fine the way it was already, but I don't really mind seeing the channeling playstyle go. But then they introduced the Hydra, which kind of enables that channeling playstyle yet again. So that is really odd, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll just like straight up remove Hydra again and that's it. But they kind of like framed it as a bug fix and kind of intended behavior to work with Hydra. So realistically at this point, I don't really think they're gonna remove Hydra again, and this probably just gonna nerf the set to some degree. It is definitely overperforming, it's definitely really strong, and you know, taking off like 5 tiers or something would definitely be in order. Like the first initial clears already on the PTR are like 145 already from the high Paragon guys, and this is definitely a 150 build, and probably on the level of like Crusader and maybe Bone Spear or something. Even before the buff, for example, we also theory crafted a Rift Guardian Killer setup of this that we thought would be pretty decent, and well, Rob has put it to the test and it straight up melted the 150 Rift Guardian in essentially 1 convention cycle. So even though this was done with high Paragon, you could just do, you know, like a little bit more stricken stacking, like in another convention cycle or so, and then you just pop your stuff. And he was also overkilling bosses very heavily and with no pylons, and even with like, you know, 2-3k Paragon or so, you can probably one rotate these Rift Guardians in like 30 seconds or something. So this is where it's at right now with the Rift Guardian Killer setup. And for those 4-minute speeds that we've done, we also found some really curious choices. So we're running GR150 speeds in pretty consistent around 3 minutes, sometimes 3.5, sometimes up to 4 in a really bad rift, sometimes 2.5. So it's not really as fast as something like Red Runs, for example, but it's much higher tiers. And we tried various setups there. One of the best ones seemed to be a channeling playstyle where you hold on Disintegrate and you try to get Engeum procs for your Explosive Blast. So it essentially just Explosive Blast everything to death. And the other one was actually a very active playstyle with Focus and Restraint on the Wizard, with Flame Blades and Focus and Restraint on the Wizard. So that was quite interesting. Essentially you proc Focus and Restraint with your Disintegrate, and you just ignite everything quickly, and then you just blast your way through with really fast attacks. And that also seemed to work pretty well, because you can slot in stuff like Black Hole, because you can have Aching Fury that buffs your damage a little bit, and because you can actually move around and hit the right targets, which you can't really do in the channeling playstyle because of the 1 second delay until Deathwish kicks in. So you're kind of a victim to whatever your supports do, and if the enemies teleport around, or there's like something stuck behind a rock or something, you have to essentially spend another like 4 or 5 seconds to teleport there, start channeling, and then slowly ramp up. And you're also susceptible to losing your Engeum. And all of this doesn't happen on this Flame Blades playstyle, where you can move around, and it's just really much more mobile and much more convenient to play. So we tried both for a little bit, and it was always kind of like the same result. It seemed the channeling was slightly better because it had a bit higher damage potential and you were blasting those packs a little bit faster. But if you want to go a little bit lower tiers, you can probably do better with the Flame Blades. In the last 3 runs, we've also combined the 2 setups. So we had one Wizard with channeling and one with Flame Blades. And that was actually pretty cool. So we had essentially one doing like the high nuke damage with Engeum, and we had myself playing the Flame Blade Wizard. I was basically responsible for doing the right pull with Black Hole, and then also cleaning up all the little trash monsters, and also making sure that the Engeum keeps popping every time, because sometimes you have minions running around. So that was my job to finish those off. And that was actually a really nice combo. And it kind of like evened out really well with those 2 playstyles. So after just a few hours now, there's no final conclusion yet, and I believe that this Firebird speed meta is actually really awesome to play. So those changes that they made to the set are really amazing. We're gonna have a pretty strong Rift Guardian killer, and well, I would imagine to tone down the damage a little bit, but overall, yeah, it feels pretty amazing. So it's nice, and this could be the Rat killer after all. It was never Rathma to begin with, it was Firebirds, it seems. So here we are, and we're definitely going to explore this a little bit more. I'm also going to try this in solo to see just how that feels. Maybe you can also make the Flame Blades work there. But for Firebirds, I definitely gotta say, pretty good choices on the developer team here. Just a little bit overtuned probably, but that can be fixed. Rathma, yeah, just got a heavy nerf bait unfortunately. So we'll see what happens with that. I imagine we're gonna see some crazy buff again to Rathma that kind of makes it viable again, because, well, it was also really fun to play Rathma, both with the Bone Spirit and with the Army of the Dead, and right now both of those skills are completely dead again. So we'll see. So this is what I wanted to share here quickly, and hope you enjoyed my little overview and my thoughts, and I'll see you guys next time.